Hi there everyone, Dr. Beth Westy here, and I'm going to cover a really hot topic. I've actually gotten, I can't even tell you how many people asking me, what is this thing that just got released on coconut oil? Oh my gosh, is it bad for you? Oh, should I stop eating it? So I'm going to talk about some specifics of the study that was released, break down a few important keynote points just to keep track of, and then we'll talk about some other things about coconut oil, and really you can make the decision whether or not to include it in your healthy diet as a whole. So coconut oil, now this is the coconut oil that I've got right now. It's from Costco because I love Costco, and it comes in this big jug here. Now this is a really great way to get coconut oil because I use a lot of it. Now there's many uses for coconut oil. One is a dietary use, which means you can include it in your cooking or baking, or you can also use it on your skin or your hair, other things like that. I use coconut oil. I have a mix of coconut oil and baking soda in a little dish in my bathrooms for my kids whenever they get bug bites or itches or something like that, where they come across something and their skin gets irritated. This is a fantastic use for that as well. So when people talk about coconut oil and how terrible it is, there's so many different uses for this. Also, if you study the history of coconut oil, which also I suggest picking up a copy of this, and this guy is really, really smart, Dr. Bruce Fife. Tons of research, extensive research on coconuts, coconut oil, and the use of it in many different cultures. So coconut oil and coconuts have been used in different cultures, like Polynesian cultures, for thousands of years, and their risk of heart disease and other diseases is nil. Very, very small. So a lot of times when we're looking at studies, it's really important to kind of take in what were they studying, who were they studying, and how does that apply to me or my dietary routine. So in general, I'll summarize this right at the beginning so you don't have to wait till the end of the video. That if you're going to just add coconut oil to an already not good diet, it's not going to do good things for you. So if you eat McDonald's a lot or eat a lot of fast food and you don't exercise and you're not eating a healthy, clean diet, then just adding coconut oil isn't going to all of a sudden magically boost your health, or you're not going to lose a ton of weight from it. Ooh, that's, no. But if you're doing a lot of really healthy things, and so I attach my website, so you can click the link and you can I have a 7-day meal plan guide. That's an example of a healthy, clean eating. It's high protein. It'll take you through a carb cycle. It'll take you through an intermittent fast. My specialty is women's health. I'm a women's health expert. And my book that's really close to being done is on women's nutrition. So nutrition that matches with women's hormones and your cycle and everything else. And I can tell you for a fact that if you're lacking healthy fats in your diet, your hormones will not work properly. Very, very important to keep track of for women. So there is that. But if you're curious about any of that other information or curious about how it would work for you, a lot of gals that suffer from things like PCOS, endometriosis, fibroid cysts, infertility, you name it, they're not getting enough healthy fats in their diet for their hormones to run properly. So I recommend it as part of the meal plan guide that I recommend for women to round things out for their hormones. Okay. So that's the piece that's specific for me. Again, if you have more questions, you can comment below. You can message me privately if you have questions about you or what you're looking at for your own health and your own nutrition. All right. So when we talk about coconut oil and talk about how it's applied and used, so coconut oil has been used in a ton of different cultures, a ton of different places around the world, and I'm not going to get into a ton of the history in the U.S. with it. I'm just going to talk about some of the facts, what it does not do with the human body. And we'll just kind of keep it at that. So the study specifically that was released by the American Heart Association is really geared towards, and again, I could only read the abstract, but they basically said a few important points in there is that a lower saturated fat was basically being replaced by other fats. Now, saturated fats are fatty acids. They have a single bond, which I'm sure no one cares about except for me. But mostly they come from animal fats. So animal fats like fatty meats actually are proven to increase your dietary cholesterol. So therefore increasing your cardiovascular disease. Anytime you see CVD, I've just abbreviated cardiovascular disease there. So heart disease, that's what they're concerned with, cholesterol and heart disease. So animal fats are actually the highest saturated fat rate that have been shown to have increase in cholesterol and then increase in heart disease. And then also there is prepared foods, pizza, sausage, dairy desserts, so ice cream. I'm sure everybody is like shocked right now, right? Oh, I can have sausage and ice cream all day and keep my cholesterol low and my heart disease low? No. I mean, so Ben of Ben and Jerry's, he had 4 different heart surgeries. It's not funny. It's not funny. I'm not meaning that in a funny way. I'm just saying like, well, yeah, he was eating ice cream all the time. You know, it's an animal byproduct. So there's a ton of saturated fat in that. There you go. Right? So that's one thing to think about when you're looking at the saturated fats. When they were looking, so in the study, they talked about saturated fats. That includes all of these things. So coconut oil is a different type of saturated fat than animal fat in prepared food. It is a medium chain triglyceride. And the highest percentage of fat in coconut oil it's made up differently than animal fats and prepared foods. It's got lauric acid. It's almost half of it is lauric acid. And lauric acid is the component of like human breast milk, which makes it so nutritious, everything else. And lauric acid has actually been proven to decrease total serum cholesterol, or increase total serum cholesterol, but it increases, which is a good thing because it increases your HDL. So when you're looking at some of the things that they talk about, how it increases your LDL or it increases the bad cholesterol, the lauric acid, which is almost half of coconut oil, has been proven to increase the HDL, the good cholesterol. So there's some conflicting information there because they're just saying saturated fats. They're not specifically stating that it's the coconut oil that's causing the increase in the bad. They're saying saturated fats, which yes, absolutely. These types of fats actually absolutely increase the bad cholesterol. Coconut oil, though, is almost half lauric acid, which is proven to increase the good cholesterol, which is what you want. So there's, we'll say, some information that's been omitted or not focused on as much in the release of that study. And yeah, like it's just, again, found in breast milk and other really, really healthy things. So coconut oil has, again, this book, The Coconut Oil Miracle, by Dr. Bruce Fife is fantastic piece of information. There's so much content in here. So if you're really confused, just read this book. I've had this book for, oh my gosh, like a dozen years. It's old, but it's got so much great content in here. And it's really helpful for when things like this happen and you're like, oh my gosh, all this stuff is being splashed all over. I thought coconut oil was good for you. Why is it all of a sudden bad for you? Well, it's like the same studies that come out about coffee. All of a sudden coffee's bad for you. Oh, coffee's good for you. Oh, coffee's bad for you again. Oh my God. Take it into a context of, which is why I have that link up there where you can check out like a sample meal plan for 7 days of a healthy, high protein, intermittent fasting, carb cycling diet that you can follow that includes coconut oil. That's a healthy way to include it in your diet and an appropriate amount, right? You're not eating, I'm not going to eat half of this in a day. That's not going to go well on the other end of things either, by the way, but just to kind of keep that in mind. So basically in the study, they talked about saturated fats, and again, saturated fats being animal fats and prepared foods fats. Keep that in mind. Replacing that lowers your daily intake of the saturated fats and replace it and balancing it with polyunsaturated and then monounsaturated as well, actually lower cardiovascular disease by about 30%. Now that is not new information at all. That information has been repeated across study, across everything for a long time. For years, 20 years. So this piece of like, woo, oh my gosh, if you lower the saturated fats here and, lower the animal fats in your diet and you increase it and replace it by other unsaturated fats here, avocados, nuts, and vegetable oils, I will give you a caveat in here. It's got to be unrefined or it can be turned into trans fats. So you got to be careful about that. I'm not going to get into that right now because we all know trans fats are bad. But like olive oil, right? So if you take a lot of your fatty acids or your animal fats and pizza and sausage and ice cream and replace it with these healthier fats, that you reduce your risk of cardiovascular disease by about 30%. Yeah, that's been, that's not new. The other thing they talk about too, though, is not completely cutting out the coconut oil, or they don't say that at all. They don't even talk about cutting out saturated fats altogether. They talk about it as a good balance and good ratio, meaning you're having an even balance of these saturated and unsaturated fats. It's not more saturated fats and less unsaturated. It's a balance of them. So kind of keep that in mind. The other thing to think about, and this is what I specialize in for women, so this is part of the first book that I wrote, is how cholesterol, so animal fats and some of these saturated fats, again, I am not talking about coconut oil here, but talking about specific animal fats and prepared foods and how it affects cholesterol. In men and women, heart disease presents differently. Heart attacks present completely differently because they present differently all the way in the artery for men and women. So this is artery for a man, artery for a woman, and here's why heart attacks and heart attack presentations are different. So in men, classic symptoms are chest pain, trouble breathing, and then pain down that left arm. In women, it's neck pain, jaw pain, maybe some upper back pain, and they might feel a little fluish. So those two symptoms, completely different. Why are they completely different in men and women when they both mean heart attack? The reason is because it presents differently in men and women. So in men, when you talk about increasing your cholesterol and getting plaque in your arteries, in men, you know, oh, plaque in the arteries, and it'll build up in one area here, right? Everybody's kind of seen this, right? And it kind of pinches together in that artery. That makes sense, right? Everybody's seen that before. That's a classic male presentation of increased cholesterol in your arteries causing heart disease and heart attack. In women, it presents completely differently. In women, it does not bunch at one specific point and pinch there, which restricts blood flow. In women, that plaque builds up evenly throughout the entire artery, like this. So it slowly closes in and pinches the entire thing. It coats. It's like coating the inside of a straw versus pinching a straw. Now, women versus men, completely different presentation. So again, when they talk about a lot of these studies and things that they've done, the data that they typically use is really old, and they're not looking at a good range of male and female test subjects to really get a good view of how this is presenting differently. Again, I know all this because that was part of my first book, and I've done extensive research on this. So just kind of keep that in mind. Classic symptoms different between women and men. Now, the other thing that I thought was really fascinating that no one talked about in this study is this part here, that when they replace the saturated fats, so these saturated fats here, with refined carbs and sugar, it does not lower cardiovascular disease. Also not new information in general, but really important to note. Just because you're eating a lower fat diet and replacing that with sugar, sugar's fat-free. There's no fat in sugar. You can just eat, table sugar, and there's zero fat on that. You look at a sugar label, zero fat. But doing that does not lower your risk of cardiovascular disease at all. At all. Why is that? It's because the way your body processes and stores sugar as fat. Yeah. So a lot of this is due to when we talk about healthy fats, fatty acids, and it's not just, is something like this good or bad for you? It's how is your body processing it, and what is your overall diet look like? Are you eating healthy overall? Are you eating a clean diet? Are you exercising regularly? Are you taking care of yourself? All these things play a big role in the fact that you can include things like this in your diet and have it be beneficial and healthy for you. Are you eating this or trying to replace this with just sugar? No, that's not going to be healthy for you. So just a few things to kind of keep in mind. But overall, know that if you really want to dive into, is coconut oil good or bad for you? Why do they say it's bad for you? It's not that it's bad for you. If you're eating half of a tub of coconut oil a day, that's not going to be good for anybody. But if you're including it as part of your healthy diet and keeping your healthy fats at, I know they recommend that 30% of your diet is from healthy fats or whatever. There can be a lot of arguments there as well. But even so, having a couple of tablespoons of coconut oil a day can be part of a healthy routine in terms of your overall nutrition. So hopefully that kind of makes sense in terms of saturated fats. The study that they talked about, they specifically just said saturated fats, which includes these things, and balancing that with the unsaturated or the healthier fats here, avocados, nuts, and other oils like olive oil, produces a better result in terms of cardiovascular disease. Cardiovascular disease presents differently in men and women. You need to keep that in mind as well. And that replacing any type of fat, these saturated fats, with just sugar didn't prove any result at all. So just because you took the fat out and replaced it with sugar doesn't mean your body processes things better so that you're like, oh, yay, no, I'm not having that fat, I'm going to be healthier. Nope. Didn't lower that risk of heart disease at all. Kind of amazing. Whew, okay. So that's my 2 cents on the all the articles and news shows on the coconut oil right now and how wildly unhealthy everybody's saying it is all of a sudden. It's not. in my opinion, not. So if you again have questions on this, don't hesitate. You can comment. You can send me a message if you're confused on something. I can send you some sources or some sites to look at. But again, overall, I would say beneficial to pick up a book like this and really do your own research. Really check it out. Because when you dive into some of the information yourself, you're going to be shocked at some of the things that you'll find or read or learn, and then you might be really motivated to change your nutrition. Okay, so that's what I have for you guys today. Again, if you have any questions, let me know. If you found this helpful, I would so appreciate it if you click that share button and let other people know, because there's stuff like this that happens all the time. New fad information. Oh my gosh, look out! And it can be really confusing for people. So to have something that kind of breaks it down and explains it simply, then people can kind of know, okay, yep, I'm gonna, they do that with everything. I know, right, Julie? Yeah. They will throw something out there. Yeah, yes, the don't eat eggs. Right, yeah, eggs are so bad for you, right? Oh, it's like they pick different foods to all of a sudden freak out on. Or they'll take some specific study that somebody did and take one line from it and twist that data and say, oh, no, it's really bad for you. Oh, no. Again, it's all about balance and looking at the whole. What's your nutrition as a whole? That's kind of the biggest thing. So, clicking the share button lets other people know this great information too, so they're not as confused and don't get swept away by the fads. Or if you're like, you know what, I was just wondering this myself, you can share, you had a conversation with somebody and they're like, I thought it was bad for you. Share this video with them and they can message me if they have questions. All right, if you guys have anything else, let me know, but otherwise, I will see you later.